So as I said to you, I had an atomic portion of doubt, but that was quickly blown away, not just because of the accuracy of the names. It tells all the names. It gives the genealogy, the date of birth, date of death, time of death, how you'll die, who'll be there, the moment after death, as you're dying. They describe what you'll see. And marriage, name of the wife. The name of my wife was on that leaf as well. All of the forecasts, everything came true. Everything. It's all still coming true. Not only did I realize that Vedic astrology is 100% true, I also realized that the concept of free will is a concept. If you understand the fractalic nature of the universe, everything is a fractal of everything else. So at that moment of birth, the human body embodies the universal body.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into this intriguing episode of Power Perspectives, People, Passion, Purpose. I'm Shannon, and I'm joined today by Master Vedic Astrologist. He's a student of India's most elevated masters, initiated into the sacred Vedic knowledge. He's also a face reader, a best-selling metaphysical writer, author, and content creator, making numerous radio, TV, and internet appearances regularly, especially in his native Australia. On top of this, he's also a psychic reader to many celebrities, politicians, leaders internationally, even having been on the iconic game show Deal or No Deal, knowing all the reveals even up to the last moment. For this man, truly, if I described his whole bio, would take me a very long time. So just know he had over 40 years in his powerful career, and I'm so grateful to have with me today the man, the master, Dadhichi Toth. Welcome to Power Perspectives, Dadhichi.
While you're doing all that, I was thinking, my character suits my bandana.
It does, actually. Very nice. Well, we are very grateful to have you today. You have a very interesting perspective.
I'm very happy to be here. And I'm just going to calculate a chart just to have it there in the background, because I'm very big on calculating horoscopes for the moment that something starts.
I saw that. And you've got your channel on YouTube also, and you've got so many different ways that people can learn from you and find out more about their charts, because you share so much about every sign. So that's very generous of you. You've got such an epic story. I don't know where to start, but I was just going to kind of ask you, like, what initially drew you to Vedic astrology and to numerology?
Well, most parents read, those little rabbit stories to their kids at bedtime. My mother used to read me Linda Goodman's Sun Signs. So I grew up at a very early age, sort of, almost getting my head around the 12 signs and what they were about. And then as I got older, I really started taking more of an interest in the Eastern style astrology, the Vedic astrology, which seemed to me so precise, especially after meeting one of my first masters, Professor Sadati, Ramakrishna Sadati. He was an amazing face reader and astrologer and palmist. He combined all those three together. And it took me 7 years. He used to come to Australia and I'd knock on his door every year and he just wouldn't have a bar of it. But eventually I convinced him that I was indeed a serious student. And as he said, I guess I can groom you a little.
What's the difference between Western astrology and Vedic astrology?
Well, Vedic astrology adjusts for an astronomical phenomenon called precession of the equinoxes. In Vedic astrology, we call it ayanamsha. It's the sort of the drift of the vernal equinox against the background stars, and we adjust that by about 24 degrees. So each horoscope that you look at in the tropical Western system, we deduct approximately 24 degrees from each position. In that case, all the aspects stay the same. The signs often revert to the earlier sign, the sign before the one that we see them in the Western astrology. So there are some unique concepts per specific planet.
And I mean, the way that you just know this is what myself, and I'm sure most people would have to sit in front of books and read for a long time. So are you constantly aware of what's going on intuitively, or do you have to be checking, all of your charts, and how does that work for you?
Well, there are many different systems of intuiting. You know, there's a system I studied called this work on the breaths, Swara. There's a book called Swara Chintamani. Talks about the swapping of the left and right nostril breath. You see, the left, that Nadi Sadhana, which we do in Hatha Yoga, that's actually got an astrological significance as well, because the left nostril is what we connect to the Ida nerve, which is one of those nerves that wraps around the Sushumna, and the right nostril to the Pingala. Left nostril, lunar nerve, right nostril, Pingala, solar nerve, and the central column is called element of Agni, or fire. So regulating the breath, even if you don't regulate the breath, the astrologer's aware of the breath. We can make predictions on the breath. If I wake up on a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and the left nostril's operating, that's a good thing. It's not a good thing if the opposite nostril's working. So the astrologer has to know how to just shift that rhythm, that cycle from right to left on that day. Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, that's Pingala, right nerve. And so it's good for the right nostril to be working. And it's also auspicious at certain times. You know, if you want to go into battle, right, you should have that the Agni, the fire. Both are working. And these, of course, relate to the synaptic processes in the brain, left and right hemisphere, intuitive, deductive, versing each other. But depending on the day, I've given very accurate predictions just based on, you know, the astrologer's body is the horoscope.
Right.
When my master initiated me many times, it was clear that these 7 chakras are really just resonant frequencies of the 7 planets. You see? So when you take in that initiation and you're an astrologer that's not just focused on the technique. We have to know the technique. I mean, I've studied the technique for 40 years and I've learned the technique of my master, but he always said to me, "Are you reading too many books? You need to get the intuition power from the Deva, from the Shakti, from the Guru." So there was this balance between the technique. It's like if you listen to a lot of classical musicians, they're absolutely brilliant in technique. The technicalities are flawless. But I had a violinist that used to be in a band with me in another life. I was a musician, but he was great, but he was very stilted when he improvised. A jazz musician will improvise, but he also has the knowledge. I guess you call me a jazz astrologer, you know, because we have the technique, but the master always impressed on me, you know, this is called Vak. When you do enough mantras and you know you're tuned into the intuitive level, all the nerves in the tongue and the throat. There's Vishuddha chakra, and these minor chakras here in the tongue. There are many different chakras, even below the sacral chakra. There are the clinical studies show the Kundalini awakens in the right toe. That's called Kalagni Rudra chakra. That's a chakra in the lower part of the body, comes up the leg, activates the sacral or the Muladhara chakra, and then that goes up, explodes the head, comes down, and that's the shepherd's crook. You know that?
The Ankh.
The shepherd, that's the symbol of that, coming up and then back over and then settling in the heart.
Right toe. I haven't heard that before in the right toe, but that's very interesting. And
come on, we've got to give people something they haven't heard before. Forget about it all. Well, same old, right? We want to give them some new information here.
Well, one thing that was so fascinating about what you do, and you know, people can think you're just born a psychic and born a powerful astrologist, but you have practiced mantras for like 500,000 times, 300,000 times, 200,000 times, and then you receive a new one from your master. Most people don't know that work that goes into this ancient sacred text and teaching.
It's oral.
It's oral.
I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds of books. As I said, you need the technique, but then the technique is sort of sterile without the heart. And so the mantra what we call Diksha. And that's seen from the 5th house of the horoscope. In fact, I was dealing with a client tonight. 5th house of the basic horoscope. We look at the 9th house, which has to do with spirituality. 12th house. 12th house is interesting. 12th house is emancipation. 12th house is also the moment of death. We can see where the soul is going from the 12th house. We can see whether it's going down or it's going up, because the horoscope is really just an account book.
Interesting.
You know, the horoscope is a slice of the space-time continuum. It's just a slice of the space-time continuum. In that moment, there is an array of energies and frequencies, an interplay. And if you understand the fractalic nature of the universe, everything is a fractal of everything else. So at that moment of birth, the human body embodies the universal body in that configuration. The astrologer is just deciphering it like a weatherman deciphers, you know, high for dry, low for H2O. We look at the horoscope in those terms, different aspects, different combinations. And so we look at the account balance. At any given moment, there are planets that are conducive to good and those that are not conducive to good. The good ones will augment the karma, what we call prarabdha karma, which is the karma you've brought over from the previous existence. Of course, we're continually creating karma, but people forget that this moment is the sum total of all our karma. We are where we are because of the karma. If we're feeling shitty right now, that's karma. It's all coming back in this, right? So the astrologer is simply an accountant, really a spiritual accountant. I'm looking at the red and the black on the balance sheet. And we can see, for example, here's the chart for the moment. We see the intervallic nature. Each planet is allotted a specific interval of time based upon the lunar star at birth. There are 27 stars that sit in that 12 constellational model that we know of. That's the Western model. But in the Vedic model, we have what's called the nakshatras, the 27 lunar mansions. Those 27 mansions give us a more microscopic window. Then we divide those 13 degree 20 minutes of arc stars into 4. 3 degrees 20 minutes, that's a quarter star, times 27, that's 108. Oh, the magical number. Then you see why we have the 108 beads on a mala, right? That's just the zodiac. You're drawing in different energies depending on which stones. If you want to do Shiva or we want to augment the sun, then we'll wear the Rudraksha beads, right? You want to wear moon, the moon's energy, you wear pearls. And there's different fingers to wear them on. So apart from looking at the balance sheet, what's good, what's bad, what did you do wrong? 5th house, that's your past karma, prarabdha. My master told me, mark that 5th house. Then you see the ascendant in the last life. Then we can read what was happening in the last life. It's very, very intriguing.
It sounds like it's trying to read a map, but decipher the logos or the legend and apply it to yourself. So most people, like myself, would come to someone like yourself, an expert that actually has put in the work, that knows what the heck they're reading. But I mean, you're a face reader, also a palm reader, a numerologist, a psychic.
Not a great palmist. I'm not a great palmist, but I know that all of the mounts, the fingers and the lines are all just astrology. That great professor who was my first master, he was just a genius and he taught me a lot of stuff. He basically said, look, stick to astrology. Everything is ultimately astrology. All the tarot cards, all of the facial features, you know, we said the different planets here and the palmistry as well. So I've stuck to the principle of astrology, looking at it as it's just an incredible kaleidoscopic expression. And it's another language, you know, and understanding that language, we not only see the good and the bad planets, the debits and the credits karmically, but also we see when those debits and credits accrue. Knowing that, the Vedic astrology goes a step further. We look at the remedial measures, and my master was very, very big on that. He was an amazing tantric. So I've been initiated into the true form of Tantra. And judging from the horoscope, we can see which deity, which particular parcel of energies or frequencies is useful to you for triggering those spiritual components. We can also see the material components. If you want money, okay, you come to me, you pay me for what you want. I'll just tell you what energies will help and enhance that, or which ones will detract, what gems you should use, what mantras you should use.
You probably get some people tuning into that one. That's probably high on people's list. But I mean, you're deciphering all of these things and you're learning how on your path. But was there a pivotal moment that you went like, oh my God, like this is the power and accuracy of Vedic astrology is so immense that this must be my path. Like, was there a moment for you or a potential person?
I had an atomic amount of doubt until 1999. An atomic doubt about the veracity of astrology. Maybe I'm just a professional guesser. You know what I mean? Is this true? I was in India in 1999, and on the way back from some temples with a friend of mine from LA, we were traveling together. They said, come on, have a look at the Nadi Grantha. I said, what's the Nadi Grantha? They said, that's the Akashic records. I said, you're kidding me. Yeah, we're going to see this. So got there. They ask you nothing about your birth data, just your thumbprints. And then apparently there's this massive library of 3,000-year-old Palmyra leaves. They're all in bundles, and they take your thumbprint so they can connect, they can correlate the genetic markings on your thumb to one leaf, one and one only. And on this leaf, I kid you not, it's extraordinary. It took them a while to get through it, but then they finally got to it. They begin by telling you your name. It's in the form of a dialogue between the great sage. There were 7 great sages, what we call the Sapta Rishis. These are the all-knowing deities or godmen who were connected to the ETs or the deities. In the Mahabharata, all that ancient stuff. They had the flying Vimana craft and all that stuff. But it's a dialogue between the students all sitting around the master. Master, tell us about this dude. He's got 3 triangles, a circle, and a dot on his thumb. So the master's in trance. And the reader says to me, sir, the master praises Lord Ganesh. He begins by saying, your name must be Dadhichi. Your mother's name was Esther. Your father's name was Yanu. And you were born on the 24th of October, 1957 in the Western calendar. Then I was sitting there, me and my friend were stunned. He started drawing the horoscope. And I know astrology. So when he started placing all the planets exactly where they are on a computer printout, I thought, holy.
Yeah. Wow.
There's the horoscope from my thumbprint. So there's the link between astrology and palmistry. But you're not going to get that link anywhere else. This detailed, this accurate, percent. Apparently, the genetic record is accurate to 20 seconds of birth time. Who said the ancients didn't have superior knowledge, incredible insight? That's what I call AI. Forget artificial. To me, it's accelerated intuition.
For sure. And I mean, somebody listening might be like I was when you first shared that with me. I was like, where do I go for that? Where in India? But I assume it's a deep into the realm, and you must be initiated or connected.
No, I can send you there if you want.
That'd be cool. I mean,
yeah. But be careful. These leaf readings don't mince words. I've got friends who've had relatives who've gone. The reader says, sorry, sage says you've got 7 days to live. This is how you're going to die. And it usually happens like that. So if you've got a weak stomach for truth,
you
should always tell the astrologer, please make me feel good. Don't tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Make me the money. Do you want me to make you feel good, or do you want me to tell you the truth? That's the question I often ask clients.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that because, I mean, you obviously just looking at someone's face, you can tell something about them, and it might be, illness or disease, or, you have a very in-depth skill that people might not be emotionally prepared for. So do you take it upon yourself to kind of filter what you put through, or do you ask them, do you really want to know, or how does that work when you're one-to-one with a person?
Well, the astrologer should know the caliber
Right.
of them, and he should know the sensitivity of that person, and he should know whether telling them the truth is going to worry them sick.
Right.
Some characters can accept the truth. Some, the truth has to be packaged in a way that doesn't damage them. And I learned that earlier on in my career, where I made a few silly predictions. And one woman, I was telling her to be careful of a gun on her foot. I saw her again 12 years later, and the first thing she said was, "Dadhichi, you've had me worried for 10 years. I said, "Really?" And I realized that, the power of your speech. She didn't shoot herself, thank God. In the early days, I wasn't. You start to develop a greater percentage of accuracy as you get older, we hope, with 30, 40 years experience. But that led me to believe I need to study the caliber of the person. Can they withstand the truth? If not, how do I deliver the truth? In some cases, you have to lie because, there's compassion and there's truth. Sometimes I err on the side of compassion.
Yeah. Well, that's such an important part. That's such an important aspect to humanity, like if just because a truth is known, not everyone is ready for that at the same time, especially when it's so individualized. And
well, I wasn't so ready either when I went to see those leaf readings, because as I said to you, I had an atomic portion of doubt, but that was quickly blown away. Not just because of the accuracy of the names, it tells all the names, it gives the genealogy, the date of birth. There's 14 chapters in that. They give you chapter 5, your past life, why you had to be reborn. Chapter 8, date of death, time of death, how you'll die, who'll be there. Chapter 12, the moment after death, as you're dying, they describe what you'll see, who'll be there, whether you'll be emancipated or not. Chapter 10, career. Chapter 11, friendships. Chapter 7, marriage, name of the wife. The name of my wife was on that leaf as well. All of the forecasts, everything came true. Everything. It's all still coming true. So not only did I realize that Vedic astrology is 100% true, I also realized that the concept of free will is a concept.
It's all written. Yeah, I was really hoping to talk to you about that. And because that is a lot for people, it's hard to get your head around. And a lot of people don't want to believe that because the feeling of constraint to freedom, but it doesn't have to feel like that. So I really did you have a huge fan in Australia. You have many huge fans in Australia, but Glenn Sewell wanted me to ask you this question about karma and with your free will. What are the consequences for not following your karmic path? And I'd love to hear more about what you think about free will.
You can't follow your karmic path because everything's meant to be as it is. And everything in this moment is what it is. And there's only ever this moment, this, and this, and this.
Right.
So what happens then is then there's a shift in identification. The shift in identification, and if we use the horoscope symbolically, mostly our minds and our day-to-day actions are all centered on what's happening with the movement of the planets. Everything's in motion. The center of the horoscope, which is one's true self, doesn't move, never did, never will. It was never born, never dies. So when people talk, oh, you're afraid about dying and the after, I think it was Mark Twain who said, they asked him, are you afraid of death and what's going to happen after? He said, prior to my conception, I was dead for billions and billions of years. And, it never seemed to cause me a problem then.
I love that.
So what is it that's born? What is it we're actually looking at in the horoscope? All the patterns of the planets are just correlated to the events and the experiences and the programming or the patterning of the biological entity. One's own self, true self, it depends on what you want to identify with, If you identify with the finite portion of this experience, then you're going to have a finite experience at the end. If you identify with the supreme eternal component of self, that pure presence awareness, the center of the horoscope, then there's no becoming, there's just this. There's only everything.
And I love processing that, and I think about this all the time. But would you say then that we are an avatar for a much higher? You say the planets. I say also, but source being just continuously fractaled downward into a more denser and denser and denser experience, so dense that we can't comprehend our magnitude.
Well, awareness is just the organic mirror. Nothing happens to the mirror when the reflections appear in it. So what my masters taught me was that I am not any of the images. Everything that's observable is an image. It's not real. It's a simulation. It's a projection in consciousness. Consciousness is my true identity. Consciousness appears to become everything, like a snake in a rope when you're drunk, right? You start to sweat and tremble, and then someone turns the light on. The master will turn the light on, and then you go, holy shit, that's not a snake at all. It's just a rope. There's something there. The world appears to be there, but the world isn't there. The world is just your own awareness and your own projection. And how you weave that, we see that in the horoscope.
Well, and for people that find it hard to get their head around that, how would you kind of, if I'm someone that says I do what I want and I create my own destiny, but in Vedic astrology and many other studies are showing, no, every single choice has already been made. Because you've made every single choice, because it's always every moment. How do you kind of soothe someone that is trying to align with that, but finding it hard because of this 3D reality?
Well, I just refer them to the genome. I show them, for example, if the M2SH2 gene is faulty, then you've got a predisposition to bowel cancer. But the strange thing about that, if you look at the addresses that are adjacent and near that M2SH2 gene, they regulate the desire patterns, the food and culinary desires. Guess what? If you're at a smorgasbord, guess what foods you're going to choose? Free will choose. You're going to choose the foods that are going to aggravate your bowel. That's ingrained. That's pre-programmed. Guys like Professor Sam Harris and Donald Hoffman, these are like the geniuses now. They're showing without a doubt they can measure the reaction time for choice. And what they've found now in a clinical situation, they know the choice you're going to make before it's even hit the conscious brain. Those choices are made a priori before that.
Yeah.
So that's what I refer people to. So, it still brings us to the day-to-day practical problems in the simulation. Like last week I was in hospital with kidney stones, and the body was in terrible agony, and there's just this pain arising in the moment. How do you deal with all of that stuff? There's still the appearance. When the guy sees the snake in the rope, he's still shitting his pants, he's still trembling and sweating, right? It's only when the light, but strangely, even you have a dream at night that you're getting eaten by a tiger and you wake up, you're still sweating, you're still trembling. So even after the enlightenment, there's sometimes the appearance of, those old habits.
Oh, I like that analogy. I'm going to use that. That's fabulous. Now, you've seen over, tens of thousands of people as clients. And have you ever had to deal with skepticism? I mean, I'm sure it's come up. But how do you kind of shut someone up with that? I mean, do you just tell them this is this and that's that, and you did that? Tell me your birthday. And
no, because when I said that everything's a fractal, I mean that. Whenever I do the birth horoscope for a person, at the moment of the consultation, I do the fractal, what's called horary chart or prashna, and that my master was very big on. I've got extensive training in what's called prashna marga, the fractal charts. The fractal chart has to agree with the birth chart. In fact, many a time, the chart at the moment of the reading, the Earth will be positioned identically with what it was at birth. Planets will be in similar positions. I had a woman today, ascendant at birth, Scorpio. Moment that we started the reading, ascendant Scorpio. At birth, Jupiter was in the ascendant. aspecting the 7th house. At the moment of the question, Jupiter's just moved into the 7th house, right? So the charts will all be similar. And that's what my master taught me, the beauty of pressure. You can go to a cocktail party, you know what's happening in the heavens, you know what stars are rising, what the sublords are, what the rulers of the sublords are, and each person that approaches it, those 3 degree 20 moments, they're all moving. So it's not like Western astrology. You've got to wait 2 hours before the next sign. Here, within a matter of a few minutes, I can see that kaleidoscope just shifting. So the next person comes to me, I know the question's completely different. I can read without having any birth data.
That's very interesting. Like, it must be intriguing walking around in your brain, going to parties and stuff, or just meeting people on a regular connecting basis, like in your grocery store experience.
Sometimes I'd get a bit annoyed sometimes. Yeah, I remember I was at the Taj Mahal waiting in a queue for 3 hours to get into the Taj Mahal, and then someone heard there's an astrologer, and Indians are. I never got to see the Taj Mahal.
Oh no!
Reading for everyone. That's okay. I love the work. I love helping people, and I love the remedial aspects of I love the remedial aspects of astrology, because it'd be like going to a doctor, getting the diagnosis, and the doctor looking at it and going, "Yeah, well, thanks for coming. Just pay the secretary. Good luck." It's like, you're going to give me something for my disease?
Well, what's your favorite part of your work? What are you most passionate about in what you do?
Remedial.
Talking to people, like sharing something that they can use to enhance and evolve their lives.
Yeah, we can say, well, as I said at the beginning, at the moment of birth or the moment of a question, there are what we call Shubha Graha, Papa Graha. Shubha, the good planets, Papa, the bad planets. From that, we know if they're good planets. They normally rule the ascendant and the triangular directions, right? And then we augment them through colors, the life gem. So each ascendant has a life gem, and then the second and fifth rulers, sometimes ninth rulers. You can always augment them with good results. That will bring good fortune, good luck, steady health. The papagrahas, the ones that are punishing you for all your bad deeds, we have to appease them, and we do that through different types of rituals. There's the mantra, yantra, tantra, charity, fasting, donations, different colored items for different planets on different days. And so we can, normally what I do is I look at which planets are causing the trouble, and we bring those energies down. Usually a bit of fasting on the day of that planet, very, very helpful. Charitable work is very helpful.
That's amazing. I was actually going to ask you to share some practical tips that listeners could do, or rituals that could help them incorporate these into their daily lives. But where do we find the information? So I go on Google and I'm just, what day do the planets do what? What am I looking for?
It's better just to have the astrologer look at your chart. Then, for example, say if Venus is weak or troubling you, Friday is the day of Venus. Venus rules what zodiac signs? Libra and Taurus. So the cow, Friday, feeding a cow, instant relief. If Ketu's a problem, or Mercury, worshipping Durga through the what's called the 700 verses of Durga. Sarvabhara prashamanam trailokyasya akileshwari evameva tvayakarim asmad vedi vinasanam. That's one verse from that 700 verses, but reciting that one verse is like reciting the 700 verses. I just gave that to all of you.
Right? There's so much, so much to it. Do you have any upcoming insights into kind of a planetary movement for all of us?
Yeah, well, carbon-based structures evolved to a silicon-based or a crystalline structure, right? So what we've got is a carbon-based life form. You've got to go back. Let's retrospectively look at the special development. There's over 30, maybe 35 species pre-Homo sapien. Show me them. Even the chimpanzees outlived a lot of the So the Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon, Australopithecus, Homo erectus. What happened to all them? What do you think is going to happen to Homo sapien? Holy shit, look at what we're doing to ourselves, right? Homo silica, however, dun, dun, dun. Homo silica is silicon dioxide. It's the chip. Homo silica is the new form of life that's coming.
Oh,
the new form of Earth will be a digital socialism.
And is that a karmic repayment?
It's just evolution.
It just is.
You have a look at where we were at the point after the Big Bang. Didn't Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young say, "We are stardust"? We are all just stardust, right?
Yeah. That is fascinating.
We're just part of that whole process. And I just say to people, you've got to get into the Teflon awareness, the art of non-stick living, as I call it. And you've got to stop hanging your hooks into all of it. Just let it all fucking go. Just let go of it all.
Yeah.
Just be this.
I mean, there's so much to that, and there's so much unpacking of that for people to just surrender and not need to know. You must come across so many people that like, I need to know this right now. Is she cheating? Is my bank going to do well? Is this closing? Or am I going to get the house? Can I ask you, what was the most crazy thing or wild thing that you predicted that came true? And I'm sure there's hundreds of them, but what kind of sticks out in your memory?
I was in India at the time, because through my association with my first master, he was extraordinarily famous. But I became his protege, and I ended up traveling into India. I befriended a few of the diplomats there, the consuls general, and one guy there, he was with the High Commission. We became very good friends, and he invited me to dinner there in Delhi once. And it was just, I think that it was the day of the big solar eclipse. And we were sitting there having dinner, and he said to me, do you have any predictions? I said, yeah. I said, someone here, a major leader in the Middle East or India, is going to be either assassinated or will die tragically. He said, really? I said, yeah, well, it doesn't always happen. I said, fingers crossed it doesn't. I had a 2-hour train ride back, got back to the hotel, and the concierge said, hey, there's a message for you. Ring Rajiv Varma. I said, I just had dinner with him. Rajiv, what's that? He said, did you hear the news? I said, no, I've been asleep. What happened? He said, Yitzhak Rabin has just been assassinated in Israel.
Yeah.
I just apply my philosophy of Teflon awareness.
Non-stick. I like that.
I just let it come. I just let it go. And that seems to work for me. I've given other predictions. Some of them were crazy predictions. I was doing a psychic talkback show once, and I said, got any predictions? I said, yeah, I think there's going to be an earthquake in central USA. Cut to a break. The AAP Reuters ticker tape came through, earthquake, Georgia. If it wasn't a big earthquake, but then when they cut straight back, you're not going to believe this, folks. You probably think I'm in collusion with Dadhichi, but there's just been an earthquake in Georgia in the central part of the US. So that was quite interesting.
That is, but like, and I think I asked you this before, but can you describe it? Does it come over you like a feeling, or it's a knowing? It's an absolute knowing, or is it in your body? How do you feel things? Through the tongue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mantras to Tara Saraswati, and then the mantras to, my master gave me a combination of mantras. The Tara mantras are very effective for activating the chakras in the tongue. So if you're a public speaker or someone like yourself, or an astrologer who has to give, lucid sort of predictions, then that's a good mantra. Then we consolidated. I had to do 100,000 mantras for that. Then 300,000 for Bala Tripura Sundari. That's the goddess of playful beauty. She's a young 11-year-old, and I've been told by many psychics, even great masters, they see her near me sometimes. And my daughter looks a lot like her. So maybe because I meditated on this one so much. But she gives the power of attraction, the power of appeal, which you need if you're going to do this sort of work. Then the big one I did, which just absolutely was amazing, was the Uchista Mahaganapati, which is the left-handed worship of Lord Ganesh. That was only 100,000 mantras, but immediately it gives very, very powerful results very quickly. And I experienced that.
Wow.
My master didn't make me do it, but I've got a book here called, what's it called? It's a book of mantras, very ancient book. And I was studying these mantras, and apparently Ganesha likes it when you do the mantras first thing in the morning before you clean your teeth. Dirty mouth.
Okay. And do you sit in one sitting and do 100,000 mantras, or do you have to break it up?
No, you break it up, especially when you get like 500,000 that you got to do.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That'll take months. You get up at the break of dawn. And then you'll have all sorts of signals there.
Yeah.
Oh, the deity, that being will, once you do the requisite number, they do appear. They appear and they give you some information.
Well, you're calling them, you're intending them.
It's just their phone number.
Mm.
It takes a little bit longer than just dialing 7 or 8 numbers. You got to recite that. It's like, wake up. Next morning. And then, like that solar mantra that I did, the candle lit by itself. Flowers were sort of strewn around me in meditation. Really weird things where it sort of defies reason.
I was going to ask you what's the most magical thing that you've experienced, but maybe that was it, the candle lighting in front of you and things just coming to you. But what kind of synchronicities have you been like, okay, I'm listening?
Well, this is going to sound like off track, but falling in love a couple of weeks ago was pretty amazing.
Oh, congratulations. That sends you off in cloud 9,
Yeah, but there again, see, my Jupiter, I divorced. Well, I separated 3 years ago, but I was married May 18th, 2012. Jupiter's just swung back after 12 years into exactly the same position as it was when I married my previous wife.
Wow. And
so the cycle is very, very interesting. I find that magical.
Is that a 12-year cycle for everybody, or is that particular to you?
Well, it's a 12-year cycle from the lunar position in my chart. Depending on where your lunar position is, we can timeline when it gets back to that 180-degree position from the moon. And preferably we have a simultaneous aspect by Saturn. So both of these planets will be aspect. So if both of those planets are aspecting the 10th house simultaneously in a given year, then the career will explode. That'll be a really good career year. 11th house, one's desired dreams will be fulfilled. New friendships will be made. 5th house, new love affairs or the birth of a child. 7th house, marriage or falling in love. That sort of thing.
Well, and there's so much for you to see. When somebody gives you their birthday or their, what you need, the birthday, the city, and the time they were born, how long does it take you to collaborate and configure? Or because you've done it for so long, you can just see this.
I don't like studying horoscopes before I read now. I always just pull the chart up in the moment, and then I pull up, of course, the main chart, which is the chart for the moment. And then that tells us. You asked me first, how do I know whether someone's a charlatan or not? I started telling you that I prepared the secondary chart, and it's so synchronized, but sometimes it's not. Which means what? There's an anomaly there in the flow of energies, and then I'll know as soon as I start reading something's off. Say if Saturn is in the 7th house for the client is the astrologer. So Saturn inhibits the flow of intuitive process. The astrologer has to know his own state of being as well. Hard aspects to Mercury from Mars, the person's lying, and we can have an insight into that.
Is that like certain people couldn't be astrologists because they don't have those kinds of openings, or is that it's only
I'm saying at that moment that the client comes to you. If Saturn is in the 7th house, it's best for the astrologer to say, listen, I'm not going to get a good reception right now. Let's postpone till tomorrow or another time. Okay. But if the aspects of Mercury are hard, then the person's come to test me.
Oh, very interesting.
So I'll know that. And then I've surprised a few people. They'll put a couple of $100 on the table and I'll say, I can't take this money. Thanks for coming. but why don't you want to read? I said, no, I can't read for you. I don't want to take your money. You know what? Sometimes I've done a couple of that, and a week or two later, I get a call. Hey, listen, you were going to do a reading for a friend of mine, but you couldn't read for her. But she said you were so honest, I thought I'd come and have a reading with you.
That's good karma, if we're going to call it that.
I don't want to do readings for people. Even if I'm doing a reading, sometimes there's just occasional readings where there's just nothing coming through. I'm not going to take a person's money if I'm not going to give them something for their money. So I just give them their money back and say, look, let's try again another time if you want. But in good conscience, I can't take the money today.
That's very noble. And I was going to ask too, so you look at date of birth and city and time, but what about their name, like their full name? Does that the numbers of the letters? What is that?
Often use the numbers. The day of birth is important too.
Right.
Like if we take your day of birth, which is
April 13th, 1983.
So 1 and 3 is 4. Okay, so the fundamental vibration is the North Node for you. So right now, Rahu has just moved into the sign of Pisces recently, sidereally. So your personal mission right now is you want to save the people, you want to help them. Pisces is the sign of self-sacrifice. What you'll do now will help a lot of people, but it's going to come at a great sacrifice. You've also had a debilitated Mercury, Mars, Neptune in the same vicinity as your ruling planet from your date of birth. 4.
And what is
also,
that?
3, Sun and Jupiter. So we look at those, but mainly Rahu. And Rahu is with Mars now. When Rahu's with Mars, there'll be troubles to the siblings, some big problems that will emerge. I don't know whether you've got siblings. I'm just doing this by way of example.
Yeah.
So you might ask yourself, what the hell's going on with my brother? Is he having some trouble? Is he having some illness? Is he having some addiction problems? These sorts of things will come up.
Yeah, those are happening.
Very quickly, even without you giving me your birth date, I can see the dominant frequencies for the birth date and how that's impacting you. And you're in two minds about what to do with this brother, methinks, because the Mercury is debilitated. Nietzsche means it's depressed in Pisces. It's right next to Rahu now. It's just crossed over Rahu. So your mind was weighed down by this issue, I think. Correct?
Yep. But I get the two minds.
You didn't tell me this before we talked tonight. And that's why sometimes my energies come alive when I don't know anything and I'm just.
But also you said Rahu, and there's how many are there? There's Rahu, there's Ketu,
Sun, Moon, Mars. It's like this. Ketu, Venus, Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn.
Okay. Okay.
9. The 9. These are called Navagraha. 9 Graha planets.
When you see these things for yourself, how trippy is that? Like, can you feel, I guess, like Spider-Man, do you get a tingling and okay, I shouldn't turn left, I should turn right? Or
no.
Okay. And when you look at your own chart, do you know yours so very, very well that you just know how to be in your day-to-day activities?
I know myself as well as a proctologist knows his own anus, and he knows not to up his own anus for hemorrhoids. But Master was very clear. He used to admonish me. In fact, his master, when he went to his master with his horoscope, his master took the horoscope and tore it up in front of him. He said, your business is to help others, not to be worried about yourself. So,
fair enough.
So I like surprises too. I purposely like to have a few surprises, although, the main events of life are all on that leaf.
Do you know when you're going to die as per that leaf?
Yeah, I've been told.
How do you feel about that?
I'm not going to die because that's the body that's going to die.
Sure. So it doesn't phase you. It's just another exchange of energy, another transmutation.
Just changing my bandana.
Good answer. I like that.
Different color, different bandana.
Dadhichi, is there anything that you wish people knew more about your work?
All my work is just a mirror to reflect who you are to yourself, depending on your sensitivity and your grade of evolution, then you'll see beyond the superficialities, the projections, the simulations, to the projector. What's projecting it? What is this awareness within us all? Turn the flashlight of awareness back in on itself. That's it.
Mm.
That's called self-awareness.
That's beautiful and correct as you are. Like, if I could ask you, what advice would you give yourself just while you were starting on this journey? Say you're 35 years ago, 40 years ago, maybe just when you've started. What advice, with all you know now, looking back, would you give to you?
I'd say demolish the path.
What does that mean?
Demolish the path. Because, oh, I'm on the path. Really? Why are you postponing? A path is distance and time. Why are you making distance and creating time when it's here right now? This is it. Demolish the path. People who come to me for advice, they get a bit surprised. Oh, tell me about my path. Well, there is no path. You're creating a path. But while you're creating a path and creating time, you're distancing yourself away from this right now. This is it. The awareness is not anything different. It's been eternally as is. It will remain eternally as is. What are you going to achieve? What's the ultimate achievement if it's always been what it is? You're only ever going to become what you are. So I say demolish the path and be it now.
Dude, the book I'm writing is called The PowerPerspectives Pathway. And I talk so much about path, but I love that. I'm going to have to quote you in this book, demolish the path, and then explain why that hit me.
Now, demolishing the path doesn't mean as though you don't act as if there's a path.
Yeah.
You know, my master said the man of wisdom must always set an example, even if they're beyond that, because the ignorant people will just do silly things. The master's sort of not bound in some ways. He's not bound internally by the karma of his action, because to him, he's not doing anything. Now, is the sun actually growing the fruit on that mango tree outside? Is it actually actively involved in the growing and the harvesting of the food that comes out of that tree? No, it makes the process available through its energy. All of this is happening as a result of my awareness. That's all. But like the images in the mirror is untouched by any of this stuff. Nothing ever happened. Nothing's happening and nothing will. And the 3 scientists last year, if people want some proof of this, go and study who won the Nobel Physics Prize last year. 3 scientists. What were the equations? Time and space and all objects in it do not exist.
Love that.
I'm only quoting the scientists now, but they're a little bit behind the 8 ball, because my masters and their grandmasters all the way back were saying this very same thing. It's all a simulation, the projection.
Of course,
that was and the animating awareness behind it.
That's right. And that was all the books that got destroyed and that they continued to burn. We already knew that. Now we're just coming back to our own truth, as we do in our cycles.
The book of awareness.
The book
and then that, didn't he? Look ye not to the scriptures, which are dead, but to the living God. What's the living God? Even according to the Bible, living God is I am. I am. That I am. That I am is what I am. God is just your own self. My grandmaster was once asked about all the Kundalini experiences, all the psychedelic experiences. He was a very simple, enlightened being. He said, you know, when you get on the train, some people are fascinated by all the sights. Some get off at the next stop, then get back on. He said, as for me, I got on, fell asleep, and woke up at my destination.
Fabulous. Dadhichi, is there anything else that you'd like to share or that you wish that we knew that I didn't ask you?
I should let you all know I love you all.
Beautiful. And I love you. Thank you so much. Dadhichi, can you share where we can find you? Where can people work with you, and how can they just get more Dadhichi in their lives?
Well, I hope you can add this. They can just email me if they want, Dadhichi at astrology.com.au, or they can go to the site astrology.com.au. But, if you want a proper reading and that, just contact me, and we can make a time and have a personal one-on-one like this, but specifically regarding your birth moment and what's going on in your life.
That's awesome. And I'll leave links in the description and on YouTube. But fabulous speaking with you, Dadhichi. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
They say in the Philippines, payapa. Payapa means peace.